Excuse me there, you look familiar. Are you Legolas?
No.
Hawkeye?
No.
Green Arrow? You gotta be Green Arrow.
No.
Robin Hood?
No.
Okay, who are you?
I'm Katniss Everdeen.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of The Critical Reel, the podcast that takes a movie from the week, breaks it open, and reviews it. Hi, everyone. My name is Zachary. May the odds be ever in your favor, Cruz Tan. Oh, yeah, I did that. Yes, I did it. I absolutely did it. And with me this week is a familiar voice to you guys because he's been on this podcast a number of times. It is, once again, my brother Jay.
Hello, everyone. I hope you are ready for some high-octane action. That happened a lot in this film. But yeah, we're talking about that. We're talking about the Hunger Games.
A lot of action in this movie.
Let's get hyped.
Yep, so this week, as Jay just pointed out, we are reviewing Hunger Games Part 2. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Part 2.
Part 2.
Which opened in cinemas all across the country last Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, last Thursday.
Thursday.
So, as usual with this podcast, that has given you, a few days, including the weekend, to go and see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can tune into our podcast after you've seen the movie to kind of tune in and see if, you agree with what we say and whatever. Or if you haven't seen the movie yet, you can listen to our podcast and then decide if the movie is worth seeing.
Because I was just about to ask, since you have that mindset, can we just talk freely?
I think let's just make it a thing where we just do spoilers.
Okay.
I mean,
fair enough.
I think this podcast would actually work a lot better if people just tune in after they've seen the movie. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
I mean, we will try our best to not spoil
like huge things.
Yeah, like huge things.
Yeah,
but if our best moment or our worst moment is a major spoiler point, then just say it, I guess.
Right.
But then but warn people before we say it.
Okay.
So if they're listening up to that point, they can just kind of tune out and all that stuff.
Copy.
Okay, so before we start the episode, just want to remind all you listeners once again that you can find me you can find this podcast, you can find me, I suppose, on the internet, all over social media. You can like my Facebook page at facebook.com/The Critical Reel. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Critical Reel. Visit hookedonfilm.com.au. It's an up-and-coming Perth-based magazine that I write for. And you know what? If you just like film in general, you want something to read, go to Hooked on Film, go like their Facebook page, and be part of the film community.
Yeah, they have good stuff. They have good stuff there.
Have you been reading the stuff?
Yes, I have actually.
Have you really?
Yeah. And so I definitely recommend a visit to that website because they have good stuff.
And also because I'm the best writer that they have. So.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, as you should be, please don't forget. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, download my episodes, so that you can listen to us talking about film while you're driving to work, while you're driving home from work, wherever you are. And please remember to rate and review this channel.
Rate and review.
Especially if you like what we talk about. I mean, if you don't like what we talk about, then don't rate anything.
Well, still rate. Rate and review. Like even if you have any negative comments. But
there's nothing not to like about this anyway. So just rate 5 stars, and we'll love you forever. Okay, in case you don't know how these episodes work, in case this is the first time you're tuning into The Critical Reel, and you know what, it might be your first time.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 4 different segments in our episodes. They're very simple segments. The first segment, these segments help us, break down the movie and discuss the movie and analyze the movie.
Gives a bit of structure to our analysis.
The first segment is the cast and crew and the synopsis of the film. That's pretty straightforward. The second segment is the background and the production. So kind of gives you a bit of information about what went into the making of the movie, and all that stuff.
Yeah. All that background information.
The third segment is the discussion / the review segment where we, delve into our opinions and what we felt about the movie. And the last segment is our recommended viewings. That's essentially where we pick movies that we think will supplement your viewing of the movie of the week. that we're talking about.
Right.
Doesn't have to be good movies. They could be bad movies. Doesn't matter. It's just us selecting however many movies, however many titles that we think will help in your viewing of said movie.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to visit the dystopian future of Panem?
Yes, I am.
Take down the Capitol.
And take down the notorious president.
Yes, and to rid the world of tyranny. To once again be free people living free lives. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Time to liberate the masses.
Liberate the
Let's
masses.
do it.
Do, 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 do.
Oh God, please.
Okay. We're gonna start with the cast and crew and the synopsis. We're gonna dive right into this episode. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 is directed by Francis Lawrence, and he has no relation to Jennifer Lawrence whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you might know he's directed a few movies, of which I've only seen one, unfortunately. He directed like a whole bunch of like music documentaries. When he started out in his career, he did documentaries for Lady Gaga and a number of pop sensations. He directed Constantine.
Oh.
Which, yeah, I mean, this is a movie. Constantine is a movie that we both like.
Yes.
We both think it's incredibly underrated.
Yep.
I mean, we saw Constantine without really knowing the Constantine comics, but as a movie, we still thought it was a pretty fun movie. It worked well.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, we had no idea who Francis Lawrence was. So yeah, Francis Lawrence.
This is new information for me. Nice. Okay.
For me as well.
Yeah.
He also directed I Am Legend.
Oh, I've seen that.
Oh yeah, I've not seen that.
That's pretty good.
That was in 2007, and Water for Elephants, which was in 2011. That's a Robert Pattinson kind of romance in the circus thing.
I've never seen it.
You don't even...
I've actually not even heard of that.
Okay, that's great. Mockingjay Part 2 is written by Peter Craig and Danny Strong. The cinematographer for this movie is Joe Willems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't even know who Joe Willems is, and I couldn't find any information about this guy.
Really?
I mean, on IMDb I could, but like when I was just looking up on the internet and even like on Wikipedia, he doesn't have like a... I don't even think he has a Wikipedia. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
The score is by James Newton Howard, who is quite a familiar name in musical scores. He co-wrote the music, the score for the Dark Knight trilogy with Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's
right.
why that name sounded so familiar.
And Mockingjay Part 2 runs for 2 hours and 17 minutes. Which, if you think about it, if you add that to Part 1, then the whole movie is like 4.5 hours long.
Yeah.
The movie stars, of course, Jennifer Lawrence, who plays Katniss Everdeen, Josh Hutcherson, who plays Peter Mellark, Liam Hemsworth, who plays Gale Hawthorne, and then there's like a whole ensemble cast.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Banks, Donald Sutherland, Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, among many others. What's her name? You know the name. The Marjorie Tyrell. What's her name?
Natalie Dormer.
Natalie Dormer. Along with Gwendolyn Christie.
Who's that?
She's Brienne of Tarth.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
So you've got 2 Game of Thrones people in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people in this movie. I'm not going to list every single one of them.
Yeah. There are a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah. As the War of Panem escalates to the destruction of other districts by the capital, Katniss Everdeen, the reluctant leader of the rebellion, must bring together an army against President Snow, while all she holds dear hangs in the balance. This honestly, this can be the synopsis for Part 1 as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna talk about this later on in the episode about these young adult movies being.
This is a sore spot with us.
I think it's a sore spot for a lot of people. Yeah. But okay, we'll get to that.
Besides young adults.
Yeah. I would be surprised if even young adults really enjoy their movies being split into 2 parts. The final chapter. Yeah. I don't really know who this approach is benefiting, to be honest. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. All right. So that does it for the cast and crew and the synopsis. It's time to dive right into the background of the production of The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. So as we all know, it's adapted from the young adult novel of the same name, written by Suzanne Collins, which was published in 2010. I have not read the book. I have not read any of the books.
Yeah.
You haven't either. No. This is quite obviously the fourth movie of the franchise because the books were a trilogy.
Yes.
The books were a trilogy, but like as we said,
The movies, the
for
last...
the most hated reasons in the universe, there are now 4 movies.
Yes, because the last one has been split into 2.
Yes.
Part 1, Part 2.
Yeah. So The Hunger Games came out in 2012. The Hunger Games Catching Fire came out in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically it's
one every year.
Yeah, movie every year.
Yeah.
Part 1 came out last year, and Part 2 opened this Thursday. The decision was made by Lionsgate in 2012 to split Mockingjay into 2 parts.
Oh God!
The final.
Of course, it was the studio that made the decision.
It wouldn't have been Suzanne Collins. Why would
Yeah.
she have?
No,
it's
but-
not going to
yeah.
benefit her in any way.
It literally only benefits the studio.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no one else.
Okay, so there's not much. Honestly, there isn't very much to talk about in terms of the background and the production of this movie because, first of all, it belongs to a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the characters and a lot of the actors who are involved in the movie have not really changed very much.
They've just been brought over from the previous films.
Yeah, or slightly new people have been
Introduced.
Have been introduced. One of which, as I mentioned earlier, is Gwendolyn Christie.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had not seen her in any of the other movies, not
Yeah.
even in part 1.
Yeah.
And she joined the cast on the 4th of April 2014. And she replaced an actress who I'm not familiar with, called Lily Rabe. And
know
I was
that
doing
name.
research, and now I was doing the research on Lily Rabe, and now I can't remember where she acted, and she's starring in a TV series.
Come on. Get
It's
it.
not Downton Abbey. I'm pretty sure it's not. I can't remember. Okay, I can't remember where she's from.
Alright.
She's acting on TV somewhere.
Okay.
And she was supposed to star in this movie, and she was replaced by Gwendolyn Christie.
So she was supposed to play that character.
Yes.
Okay.
And she got replaced because she had Shakespeare in the Park production that conflicted with the schedule for the movie.
Fair enough.
So props to her for choosing Shakespeare over
Yeah.
the Hunger Games.
Respect.
Yeah, respect.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, as we all know, died in February of 2014.
Yeah.
And at the time of his death, he had completed his filming. He completed filming his scenes for part 1. So part 1 was
Mhm.
done. But he had a week left of shooting for part 2, and then he died.
Right.
But it was announced by Lionsgate that most of his scenes for part 2 had already been filmed.
Mm-hmm.
So they initially suggested that they would recreate Hoffman digitally for some of his missing scenes.
Right. Okay.
But then in December of 2014, in the wonderful British magazine Empire, which I read on occasion, Francis Lawrence revealed that there was no intention to fake a performance, and stated that he had rewritten Hoffman's 2 remaining scenes to compensate for the actor's absence. He also confirmed that there would be no digital manipulation or CGI of any kind,
That's
which
good.
I actually disagree with, because I actually think I spotted a shot where
So did I.
it was when towards the end of the movie,
Uh-huh.
and it was the whole reckoning scene where
Yeah.
Katniss had
And then
to make
he's
that
in the
big decision.
background,
He's in the
right?
back.
Yeah.
He's in the background,
Yeah.
and there's even a close up of his face,
And it just
which
it
looked
just
like it was
looks-
digitally created, and like they
That's
kind
part
of
of-
just
that's part of that.
superimposed his face onto
Mm.
this random body.
Yeah. It's
That's
like
exactly what I thought when I saw
similar
it. I was like,
to- Similar to what they did
"Hmm."
in Fast and Furious, the latest one.
the 7,
like,
Fast and
yeah,
Furious 7.
like the whole CGI face on.
I think that exactly.
Yeah.
It looked very similar to
It
that,
did.
and I think that's so. I don't know if there. I don't know. Francis Lawrence says there was no CGI, but I actually think there was. So he's probably a liar.
It did. It did. Look
He's
like
a
it was.
liar. Principal photography for Mockingjay Part 2 began on the 23rd of September 2013.
Oh,
Because they kind of shot the 2 parts back to back.
okay.
And it ended on the 20th of June 2014, and it moved through Atlanta, Georgia, and Paris, and then ended in Berlin. So from the US straight into Europe, that's where they filmed this movie. And what's interesting is, well, not really interesting, but the cast and crew took a break in November of 2013 to promote Catching Fire. And I just think like this is interesting. It would have been amusing if they had walked off set, walked off the Mockingjay set and just turned up for all the Catching Fire interviews dressed in like in in their
Oh
costumes.
yeah, that would have been cool actually.
Because I mean, like I know that breaks are taken in production schedules, but I never really heard of a break being taken to promote a previous movie.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen if you're filming like this big franchise and you've got previous installments to promote while you're shooting the next installment.
Yeah. Unless you do like a Lord of the Rings where you film all 3 films at one go and then, and then release it.
A long 15-month stretch where you're just shooting 3 massive movies at once. Peter Jackson said he'll never do it again, and then he did for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
So he ate his own words.
Right. We're going off topic.
We're going off topic. Some fun facts. Director Francis Lawrence has said that this is he considers this to be the most violent Hunger Games movie. I don't know if I agree though. I mean, there's so much violence in all the movies. I mean, even the first Hunger Games, when the Hunger Games actually happened, there was so much violence in that.
There was, yeah.
There might have been the least amount. Well, there's definitely the least amount of violence, I think, in part 1, because part 1 is essentially just a propaganda
like a build up.
Yeah, where all you have is this camera crew following Katniss around, trying to film her doing badass stuff. I think that was it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I would consider this to be the most violent movie, but Francis Lawrence does. Oh, you're gonna find this interesting, or maybe a bit unfortunate. The CEO of Lionsgate, Mr. John Feldheimer, has said that there could be a potential 5th film.
Oh, good lord!
In this Hunger Games franchise.
What?
Yeah, he said that it could be a prequel or a sequel.
Jeez.
Why can't they just let things rest?
They don't even have any more source material. What are they gonna do?
Look, it doesn't matter. Bond has no more source material. They're creating new stuff. They're gonna create
Bond
new
is
Hunger Games.
Bond. Bond is Bond. Right?
Yeah, well, obviously, Mr. John Feldheimer thinks Hunger Games is Bond as well. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and this doesn't bode well for Liam Hemsworth. He said that this film might be the best in the series, and that it never, and that quote unquote, it never lets up in its action, which might be true. But you know what? Action.
That's not a good thing, though.
Relentless action does not a good movie make.
Yeah,
so,
unless it's Mad Max.
Yes. So, the best in the series? Yeah, I don't think so. That's it. That's it for the background and the production of the Hunger Games. I think if we had done an episode on Hunger Games Part 1, there might have been more to talk about in terms of what went into the movie. But like I said, the movies were shot back to back. It's the history is not that deep with this movie. Shall we enter our discussion?
Yeah, sure.
About this movie?
Yeah.
Jay, what do you think of The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2?
Part 2.
Well,
okay, it's been about a week, just about a week since we watched it, right? And the first thing that I realized that it's slightly forgettable. Because I was compiling my notes for this episode, this podcast, and it being a week, just a week after watching it, I had trouble trying to recollect some of the moments in that film, and also that might be because I watched part 1 literally the day before.
So they kind of melded together.
Yeah, they kind of melded together. So I was thinking.
Doesn't that just mean that it should be one whole film?
Yes, it should.
Okay, all right, carry on.
So I watched part 1 just the day before watching part 2 in the cinema, and because I hadn't seen part 1 before that, so yeah, I had trouble splitting the 2 movies, and yeah, it was just hard to organize my thoughts for this episode because I kind of forgot a lot that happened in the film, but overall. I thought it was an okay ending to the series. It was like you said, the action was relentless, and the action was pretty good. I gotta admit, the action was entertaining. So yeah, the film was entertaining, and there were some moments where I was like, it's kind of boring. But yeah, I thought it was a decent end to the series. Yeah, pretty much, and yeah.
Well, see what I found interesting was that I felt no hype for this movie.
Me neither.
Which is very upsetting because I thoroughly enjoyed Catching Fire.
Mm-hmm.
I actually named that one of my best movies of 2013.
Right.
And it's strange. It's strange that I enjoyed that movie so much, and yet when Mockingjay Part 1 came out, I didn't even go to the. I didn't even catch it at the movies. I had to wait for it to come out.
I didn't even watch it till the day before.
I waited. I had to wait for it to come. I not had to, but I waited for it to come out on video before I saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a strong inclination to see Mockingjay at all, and then after seeing Mockingjay Part 1, I was like, okay, and then I just. I there was just no drive to see Hunger Games again. Like
which it's a bit strange that there was no yearning to watch part 1 because there was a cliffhanger in Catching Fire.
Exactly.
It was strange.
And I held both the Hunger Games and Catching Fire, both part Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I'm not going to call it Part 1 and Part 2. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I held both those movies in high regard, and I was like, this is a young adult franchise that doesn't seem like a young adult franchise. It's a really mature take on this dystopian future thing. And then it just went down after that. I have no idea why. There was just
strange.
And I think
think about it.
I think it might have to do with the fact that it was split into two parts. I think now I've reached I'm at that point now, and not very many franchises have done it. I think Harry Potter was the first one to do it.
Yeah.
And then Twilight did it.
Yeah.
And I think The Hunger Games is the third franchise to do it, and already I'm sick of it. I don't want it to happen again, but I know it's going to. I know
it should never have happened in the first place. Even in Harry Potter, it just did not require two parts. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, it didn't.
As a viewer and as a fan of the series, it just annoys you, kind of.
It just makes it more confusing.
Yeah.
You know there are 7 books. So that should logically mean there are 7 movies, but no, there are 8 movies. Oh, there are 3 books, so it should be a trilogy. Nope, there are 4 movies. Can it still be a trilogy if the third movie is in 2 parts? It's just the studios wanting to make more money.
It is a cash grab. That's
instead of producing 1 movie, why not produce 2 and earn double the money?
Yeah.
We don't really care if the people who are seeing it are unhappy. We don't really care if they're bored by part 1. We know they're going to see part 2 anyway. We know they're going to see both parts because it's the finale of the whole series. They know people are still going to buy this thing. And I think that whole thing, this whole problem with the studios and the young adult, the young adult arena, I think that affected my excitement for Mockingjay, because I knew that it was going to go down the same path. I knew that it was just going to be another product of the studio system.
Right.
Which was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
Talking about the movie though, about the movie on its own, I think this movie is good if you consider it on its own. Because it seems very much like a war movie, like a straight up war movie, like I was going to say Platoon, but it's not really like Platoon, because Platoon is much deeper than this. Just think of any generic war movie you can think of. Okay, this movie is like that. It's you got the band of rebels. They have a goal. They're gonna storm the capital of Panem, this dystopian future. They're gonna kill the tyrant. They're gonna restore balance and peace and prosperity to all the lands.
Yeah.
As far as the hills go, they're gonna try and restore balance. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I think it's an efficient movie. I think it's an effective movie. If you think of it as a war movie standalone, I think I even think you can watch this movie without seeing any of the previous ones and it'll still make sense. Because you can just think of it as a self-contained war adventure. And the goals of the characters are so simple that you really don't need the other movies in the franchise to kind of help you along this.
True.
So
the only reason you would watch, to set up this film, you would watch the others just to know who the characters are, right? Because in part 2 they don't really introduce the characters.
Oh, some of the characters, that's right. They're introduced in part 1 and all that. But all right, in terms of story, I think there's so little complication in this in this plot of this particular movie that I think you can just drop in and still follow it to a logical outcome.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I think as a standalone movie, if you just watch this as a standalone part, even without part one, just this as a standalone movie, I think it's okay. I think it still works as a movie. But when you, and this you have to do, but when you put it into the Hunger Games franchise, and when you put it into the Hunger Games franchise as the finale, it is missing something. It is lackluster when you put it into the whole franchise. And I think what it's missing is the wit and the intelligence of Catching Fire. Because Catching Fire is not... Okay, look, the first Hunger Games movie was very much about the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Right? This brutal tournament where 24 kids go in and just one comes out alive.
Mm-hmm.
The first Hunger Games movie was very much about that. There was very little setup. There was very little, progression of the plot and progression of the characters and setting up of tension and drama and conflict. All that happened in Catching Fire. Catching Fire, yes, there was there was a Hunger Games in Catching Fire as well, but that was like a secondary. That was just like a backdrop. The main focus of Catching Fire was the tension and the build-up and the setup of the characters and what Katniss was kind of destined or fated to do. It was all very character-centric, very dialogue-centric, and it was great. And it's just sad to see Mockingjay, both parts, just kind of devolve, if that's even a word, devolve into a straight-up war film. We kind of knew it was going to happen, though. We kind of knew that this would be the logical outcome. You could see it building from the first two movies that we knew the conclusion would have to be something like this. But it's just sad to see it actually come to fruition without taking any, right turns or left turns or taking any kind of detours or any kind of interesting side steps. It just went.
It was straightforward.
Yeah, it was as expected. Yeah. Even if you hadn't read the books, you kind of knew how it was going to end. And Mockingjay doesn't really do anything to throw a spanner in the works. That is what disappoints me, because it loses the intelligence of Catching Fire.
Right.
You can enjoy Catching Fire for a number of reasons, and then you can enjoy Mockingjay pretty much for just one reason, which is the action and the advance into the capital and what happens there. And even what happens there is not very interesting, it's not very exciting, or not very unpredictable. It's just
Okay, so I'm kind of going into detail, but like after that big battle at the end, right?
Yep.
That all that chaos.
Yep. In the capital.
Yeah, in the capital.
Yep.
Once that ended, I lost complete interest in the film. Like what happened after that was flat. Very
because
flat.
Okay, look, the series at this point introduces a character called Alma Coyne, who's played by Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
And she's the president of the rebellion. She's the president. I have no idea what she's the president of, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think she's the president of District 13, but then what is okay, it doesn't matter. Not important. They introduced this character too late. They introduced her in Mockingjay Part 1.
Yeah. And
she's such, if you look at the big picture, she's actually a pretty integral character.
Yeah.
Because she's the president of the rebellion. It's hinted at that she might have ulterior motives, that she might not be as forthcoming as a lot of people think, or that especially that Katniss thinks. She might be keeping secrets, she might be hiding things, she might be using Katniss for her own gain. And then at the climax of Part 2, when Katniss has to decide between President Snow, played by Donald Sutherland, and Alma Coyne, the outcome of that decision has less gravitas because we don't know Alma Coyne as well as we do President Snow.
Yeah.
President Snow
has been there from the start.
From the start. He's been there from the start. So we know how vile and how conniving he is from the start.
Yeah.
Alma Coyne is a new character to this thing, and there is no gravitas to a character. There is no real reason for us to, feel anything for a character.
Yeah.
When Katniss does what she does, we don't have a reason to go, oh my god, why did she do that? Why? You even predicted what she was going to do. You predicted what she was going to do, and she did it. She didn't surprise us. So I think, again, that just adds to the flaw the the of Mockingjay
Yeah, and
Part 2.
I honestly felt like because Julianne Moore is a good actress.
Yes, yes.
But I did not like her performance in both the films, Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh, why not? I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. I felt like she gave all these rousing speeches, right, to
Yes.
the rebellion and all that. I was completely underwhelmed by her speeches because she's supposed to be this important leader, right? And she's supposed to get these people supposed to get them hyped up to rebel, right? And after her speeches, I was kind of like, oh, really? I was underwhelmed, and I actually felt demotivated after her speeches. It was weird. There was just something about her performance that didn't work for me. Knowing that she's such a good actress.
Who then do you think would have been better in the role?
Oh,
Who do you think would have had the charisma to kind of encourage you then? Because it's interesting. Okay, take some time.
Yeah, but you're putting me on the spot now.
I am putting you on the spot. Take some time. I will come back to you.
Okay.
You better have an answer for me.
Oh God.
Right. Yeah. So, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. I think I don't want to harp on this all the time, but I just think that both Mockingjays narrow the scope of the whole franchise. Catching Fire, I think, broadened the scope and opened the doorways to pretty much an endless stream of possibilities, and an endless configuration of outcomes. But Mockingjay kind of chose the most boring, the most predictable, the most streamlined outcome and went with that. And I think that's the most disappointing thing about these two movies, and particularly Part 2. I mean, even the character of Caesar Flickerman, who's played by Stanley Tucci, he was so prominent in the first two movies. He was like a fan favorite. A lot of people remembered his character and they enjoyed his character.
His signature laugh.
Yeah, his signature laugh and his obnoxious smile and his inexplicable hair. I mean, even his eyebrows were purple at one point. Even he, like in this movie, he was there for like one scene,
And
I think.
he was on a TV screen.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
well, that's in Part 1, I think. In
Wait.
Part 1.
You see?
Yeah,
they blend.
You're
They
getting
blend.
confused again. In Part
Wait,
1,
but
when Peeta
they-
was with the interview thing.
Yeah, but in Part 2, he appeared on the TVs as well.
Ah, that's right. It was on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The-
You never
I
saw him
don't-
live, I
yeah,
think.
we didn't.
Yeah, so I mean, even his character, who was, if not anything else, an intriguing character, because of how flamboyant he was, even he was kind of just reduced to nothing in the last. So I mean, it's just narrowing so many things from the first two movies that could have just been broadened so much and just been so much better if they threw us a curveball. If President Snow was the actual Mockingjay, then something like that. I mean, like anything
Would have made it more
interesting. But it just chose the predictable. It latched onto the predictable outcome and went with it.
Yeah.
You gonna say something?
No.
What do you think about how they handled Philip Seymour Hoffman's departure? Because in the earlier part of the movie, there are a couple of scenes where he's there and he's talking, and you know that. But then I don't know if you noticed, but later on in the movie, like the second half of the movie, where I think after he had passed away, there were some definite moments where they had to rewrite stuff and change stuff. Like the scene where this is not a spoiler. It's not really a spoiler. This is at the end after Katniss has made her big decision, choosing between the devil she knows and the devil she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Haymitch, who's played by Woody Harrelson, comes into this little chamber with a letter from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. And Philip Seymour Hoffman's character has kind of detailed a whole bunch of things in this letter and has said, thank you for restoring balance and whatnot. That, to me, seemed like a very obvious rewrite, because if Philip Seymour Hoffman was still alive, he would have been the one to come into the room and tell Katniss everything face to face. Instead, they had to rewrite this whole thing where Haymitch comes in instead with a letter from Philip Seymour Hoffman. So I don't know, what did you think about how they handled his death and how they kind of wrote that into the movie? Did you think they did it well? You haven't seen Fast and Furious 7?
No.
So okay.
I've seen the end.
I know, but I mean, like, I would have, like, throughout the movie, I would have asked you how do you think they handled it, because I think they handled that quite well. Because I know they used Paul Walker's brother as a body double, and they kind of superimposed his face and all that stuff, and it was very successful, because there were many times where I couldn't tell if it was really Paul Walker, like, you know, it was one of his last scenes that he filmed, or whether it was a digital creation. I couldn't tell. But what about Mockingjay Part 2? You know, what do you have any opinions on how they tackled his departure?
Well, like you said, that they had to rewrite his departure because he passed away. But I felt like it could have been done better. I don't know how it would have been done better, but I feel like it could have been done better, because it felt his departure didn't feel justified.
Yeah, and it's not a big thing, but I just think, like, it's noticeable that after a while, you don't see him.
Yeah, he just kind of, like,
slowly
disappears out of the film.
They kind of build him up into this important character, and then halfway through the movie, we see him less and less. And he's just gone.
Yeah.
You see his face and you see him smile. He doesn't say anything, and then he's just gone. I mean, yeah, they didn't really have a choice. You know, I mean, these are unforeseen circumstances. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the whole story, but it is just noticeable.
Yeah.
I don't think it does the movie any harm. Do you think it does?
No.
Yeah,
It's just that it could probably have been done better. But it doesn't do any harm to the film.
What I will say for this movie is there's a lot less debris from the first movie. Which is a big relief.
Yeah, when we were watching that part 1, we were like,
the first movie, it should have been called, the Mockingjay Part 1 should have just been called, like, the Hunger Games Rubble.
Yeah,
I think almost every time you looked at the screen, they were standing on a pile of rubble. Yeah. Some broken building somewhere, some fractured courtyard that was just in pieces. Thank God there was more to see in this movie than in Part 1.
Oh yeah.
Why is every Part 1 just so... It's just so uninspiring.
Because it's unnecessary. That's why. They take a story that should be one film, and then they split it into two, and then they... Maybe not even halfway.
They kind of extend...
They take the first third of the story for the first film, and then they extend it to fit a film. So that's why it seems like... that was the same for Harry Potter... the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
That whole movie, the Deathly Hallows Part 1, that whole movie, it was literally just them in a forest, sitting in a tent, and just being very mean to each other.
Yep, that's it.
That's the whole movie.
That whole film could have been fit into like 10 minutes into the second one, and just made it one film.
Yeah,
like just make it a bit longer, but just make it one film.
And it's the same with Hunger Games as well, because the whole of Part 1, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, the whole point of Part 1 is just to have this camera crew follow Katniss around and film her doing some propaganda stuff, and then Alma Coyne and I don't know, Plutarch Heavensby just sit down and criticize the video and like, we can't do this rebellion without Katniss, and Katniss is not giving us what we need, and then she does more footage. That's all Part 1 is. Yeah. And even that could have been, truncated into 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then dumped into Part 2, and that could have been one movie.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go on a lot more on this whole Part 1, Part 2 thing. Yeah. What do you have a rating for Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2?
Yes, I do. But wait, I just want to talk about one.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot to ask you. What else do you have to say about this movie?
Yeah. The one of my favorites, the thing that I really like about this was that entire sequence in the sewers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
I just really liked it. I thought it was built up well and was edited really well, and the tension in that scene or that whole sequence was good. Like I felt like it was reminiscent of something like Alien,
Mm-hmm.
of 1979, directed by
that's-
Ridley Scott.
yes.
Yeah.
That's not a bad comparison.
Yeah,
you're right.
because it's like you don't know what's out there in the darkness because they're in the sewers and it's all dark, and you don't know what's happening and you don't know what's out there because they've mentioned the mutts, right, and you have no idea what these mutts were. So there was that amount of suspense and mystery.
I don't
as
know.
to
I
what
don't know if
these
you picked
were.
up on it, but during that sequence in the movie, I actually fell under the suspicion that a couple of the members of their junta,
The wait, what?
the junta.
The what?
All right, never mind. Their
squad.
The militant squad. Yes, I was actually fell under the suspicion that a couple of them were like betraying them.
Really?
I don't know. There were a couple of
I didn't feel that.
shots. There were a couple of shots. The cameraman. Minor spoilers. The cameraman in the squad.
Hmm?
There were a couple of shots that made me feel like, because they said the cameraman said that they were the only ones who knew the sewers, and they were the only ones who knew how to traverse the sewers, and so they were on
you
point.
felt
and
like they were
So
leading them into a
yeah,
trap.
and I thought that they were deliberately leading Katniss and her group into trouble. Deliberately into the path of security cameras. Giving away their position. That's how I don't know. I kind of picked up on that.
Didn't feel that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like but for me, that made the whole underwater, the whole sewer sequence more
intense.
more intense, more interesting, because I was kind of half expecting them to be betrayed, and I didn't know who was going to betray them,
Right.
and and so maybe it was a bit disappointing that it didn't happen that way. But
you see, since I didn't
agree,
think that,
agree.
it wasn't disappointing for me because I didn't think that they were betraying them.
That's true. No,
Yeah.
that was a good sequence.
And I like the mutts. They were cool. And
They're very reminiscent, though. You haven't seen
wait, what was it? What was it called? What
The
was it?
Descent.
Oh yeah. I heard
It's this
about that.
British horror
Mhm.
film from 2005.
And they look like that.
They
like
look
the-
very similar to the mutts in Mockingjay Part 2.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure they borrowed the idea. So they're so similar, in fact, that it's almost as if the creatures from The Descent, like, they made this is their cameo in
okay.
yeah. So
But yeah, I like their relentlessness, and like they were so fast. Their speed.
they were pretty.
It was really intimidating. Like just their relentlessness and their speed was very
They were scary, whatever they were.
yeah. So rating.
Yes, rating.
Yes, I have a rating. Do you have a rating?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Okay. Let's see if we have the same rating this time. Like last week. Oh wait. Yes, last week. Okay. So I have given this film 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
What have you given it?
I have given this film 3 out of 5. Like I said, it's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes.
Like you said, the action is more than satisfactory.
Mhm.
It's edited well, it's shot well, it's made with high quality.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
It's a high quality movie. As a standalone, like I said, I think it's good. I think it works better as a standalone if you don't take any of the other Hunger Games movies into account. But when you do take the other movies into account, which you have to,
It
kind
falls
of
flat.
loses a lot of the meat
Yeah.
that made Catching Fire especially such a great movie.
Mhm.
I still think Catching Fire is the best of the lot, without a doubt. So yeah, I thought maybe 2.5 was too harsh, because 2.5
Yes,
out of
that's what I felt.
2.5 out of 5 is literally a passing grade.
Just passed.
You've
It's
just
50%.
passed. It's 50%.
Yeah.
And I thought that was too
A bit
harsh.
harsh.
Then again, the movie's not good enough to be 3.5.
Yeah.
Because 3.5 is literally 0.5 away from 4. And 4 is already good. Very good.
Yeah.
So I thought 3...
Three
That
was,
was me. That's me justifying my...
It was
my 3.
appropriate.
Yeah.
It was an appropriate score. So yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said.
Do you have a best moment?
Well, yeah, like I just said, my best moment is probably that whole sewer sequence. Sequence.
Oh, yeah, the secret. All the
sewer
sequence.
sequence.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably that whole sewer sequence then, and the fight between them and the mutts. I really enjoyed that. That's probably my best moment.
That's a good choice.
What is your best moment?
My best moment is the oil flood.
Oh,
Because that was a...
okay.
It was a very interesting scene. Okay, the scene is, just to cut a long story short, Katniss's squad, they are charging the capital, and there are these booby traps set all over the city, and they're set by all the game makers of the capital to try and kill off the rebels. And they make their way into this big courtyard, into this big building complex courtyard, and then all of a sudden they're trapped in there, and this huge oil flood, very akin to the oil flood, the blood flood in The Shining.
Oh yeah.
But just like on a much bigger scale, just swoops in and floods the entire courtyard, kills off a couple of the squad members, and they have to like desperately sprint to safety.
Yeah. That was a cool moment.
It was just such a wacky and unpredictable. I had no idea what was gonna happen.
Yeah. It was completely unexpected.
Yeah, and
then as it started happening, you were just like, "Holy shit, what's going on? Oh my god!" But yeah, I agree.
In a movie of very many plateaus, this is my best moment.
Yeah.
It's not like a holy shit,
Yeah.
grab you by the balls moment, but it's the moment that stood out for me the most. What is your worst moment?
My worst moment is I had trouble thinking of a worst moment because like pretty much the whole film was kind of on the same level. So I had trouble picking a worst moment. But if I had to choose one, it'd probably be most of Coin's speeches.
Like you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because like I said earlier, her speeches were supposed to be rousing and make people hyped.
We are going to destroy the capital.
That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
How do you guys feel about destroying
We'll have a new Panem, and it'll be your Panem. Okay, thanks. Yep. I'd walk out of the room if she gave me that speech. So yeah, it was probably just all her speeches that those would be
fair
my
enough.
worst
Fair enough.
moments.
That's good choice. Interesting. I was not as affected by his speeches.
What is your worst moment? Or moments?
Yeah, I have two.
Mm-hmm.
One is a cop-out. One is a spoiler.
Okay.
You either get the cop-out or the spoiler. But I'm going to give you both. Okay.
Yeah.
My cop-out is Peter's presence in the entire film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually had that in my bad points, but I just didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know, what is he doing in this movie?
Right.
What is he doing in this movie?
I said that I get he's an important character to Katniss and stuff, but
he was important in the earlier movies.
Yeah.
In this part 2 especially, all he is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Like he's psychologically scarred, and he might erupt at any moment and threaten to kill everybody.
Yeah.
That's all he is in this movie. He doesn't do anything. He kind of sinks into these really boring conversations with Katniss about life and love and the future, and what they were before and what they are now. And then he does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Every single time we see him, he's moping and he's like, "Kill me now, kill me."
He's completely redundant.
He's completely redundant in the entire
film.
movie. If you just look at the whole movie, you will realize that Peeta does not need to be there.
Yeah, not at all.
Katniss should have just followed the instincts and put an arrow through his head.
Yeah,
I think
it's kind of like a role reversal with Gale. Because like
Gale was pretty useless in the
start. Earlier ones, and then he became more important. And,
you're right. It's like a role reversal thing.
He grows on you, and you kind of like his character at the end.
Yeah, he's quite a conflicted character.
Yeah,
in
so
many respects.
they take opposite paths, Peeta and Gale, because Peeta was pretty important in the earlier films.
Although to counter that, I don't think Peeta was ever as important as Gale.
Oh, that's true.
Later on in the series, because Gale actually becomes really important.
Yeah.
And he still has that underlying love for Katniss, which you feel for the guy.
Yeah,
you do feel for the guy. Because why in the world would you ever choose Peeta over Gale? I don't know. I mean, especially after seeing Peeta in this movie, just kill him. Yeah. So that's my cop-out answer, because it's not really a moment. It's just his whole presence in the movie. Yeah. My spoiler worst moment is the ending. It's very saccharine. It's a very sweet ending. And I'm gonna say what it is.
Yeah,
so
if
you don't want to know what the ending is, what the last scene of the movie is, then tune out now.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. The ending of the movie is Katniss and Peeta, they're family. They've gotten married. We presume they've gotten married and they've got kids. And, it's just a scene of Peeta in the field playing with a child, and Katniss is sitting by the picnic.
Telling a story to a child.
Yeah, with the other baby. And I'm just like, would Katniss want this? after seeing her character in all the 3.5 movies,
going through the shit,
and being such a tough character, is this life for her? I don't know. Maybe yes. Maybe now that she's done her job, she wants to just relax and be happy with her family. But not once at any point throughout the entire franchise did I ever think she would be this kind of person.
Yeah.
The loving mother, the loving wife, the carefree, the free spirit who would just have picnics all day and laugh watching her husband play with the kids. I don't know if that's a character. I don't,
Yeah.
I didn't read the novel, so I haven't delved deep enough into her psyche. But I just, I was just like, this is not Katniss for me.
Yeah. It was a pretty lame ending.
So yeah, those are my worst moments. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Now that you've seen all the Hunger Games movies, you've seen all 4 of them. In all honesty, do they inspire you to pick up another young adult franchise? Something like Divergent or The Maze Runner? I mean, putting the what you've heard about these other franchises, putting them out of your mind as best as you can. There's the Hunger Games, because the Hunger Games is the first one to finish.
Yeah.
Does it inspire you? Does it to pick up another young adult franchise?
In all honesty, no. But I would probably still watch them. Like, yeah, okay, trying to put out all the things that I've heard of the other franchises out of my head.
Yeah.
Right?
Because like the Maze Runner is not great.
Yeah.
Divergent. I would think Divergent is the second best of the lot.
Yeah.
Because I think Shailene Woodley she's great in those movies. I like Miles Teller. A lot of people don't. From what I hear.
Right. That's a different.
Yeah, but I like Miles Teller. I like him in those movies. It's such a silly idea, Divergent, but I still think. Yeah, they could be a runner-up to the Hunger Games. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if I shut those thoughts out of my head and coming fresh off the Hunger Games and I hear about this new young adult franchise, I would probably not want to watch it, but I would still check it out. Yeah, that's my answer. Because Hunger Games was entertaining, right? And I kind of liked the characters. But yeah, as we've been talking about this whole episode, the ending just felt flat and it kind of killed it for me.
Killed any kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Well, what's your take on it?
On what?
On other...
Well, I've seen other franchises.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
right?
I've seen Divergent. I've seen the first Maze Runner. I saw The Host, but apparently that's dead. I don't think any sequel is being made for The Host. I haven't seen The Giver. I might. I don't know. I saw all of Twilight, so...
Oh, yeah. I forgot that you watched those.
I saw all of Twilight. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen other young adult franchises, so, I just wanted to know because I know you haven't, so I just wanted to know if it encouraged you to do so. But yeah, there you go. Recommended viewings. It's time for recommended viewings. And Jay, do you have any recommended viewings for all our listeners out there for Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2?
Well, the obvious one would be Mockingjay Part 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the obvious one because,
So that is one of yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sets up stuff for the Part 2 and all that.
Yep.
But my other recommended... It's not a recommended viewing. It's quite interesting. It's a recommended playing.
Playing.
Yeah, it's a recommended playing.
Aha!
Yeah,
I think I know what it is. What is
Yeah, because did I mention it to you when we were watching the film? Like
yes.
Yeah, because okay, my recommended playing, which sounds really weird, is actually Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 just came out and I've been playing that, and as I was watching Part 2, Mockingjay Part 2, because it's this whole dystopian future thing and like there's rubble all over the place and the guns and all that, I just felt like it was Fallout and it was pretty interesting.
And I remember you saying at one point, like, even the costumes were similar.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, the whole look of the backdrops and the sets and all that.
Yeah, it was really similar. And, but, like, the stories are completely different. But it's just the environment is really similar. So I think if you play Fallout and then you watch Mockingjay Part 2, it's just you can make cool connections. So yeah, that's fun.
All right, listeners. So that's your cue to become gamers now.
Oh yes.
If you've seen Hunger Games, go get your gaming helmet on. Go play Fallout 4.
And then after that, we were talking about how Hunger Games would actually be pretty cool if it was adapted into video game form.
Video game form. You're right.
I'm going off on a tangent now, but
yeah.
Okay. So the Hunger Games video game, right? It would be, like your single player would be pretty much the same storyline as the Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, where, maybe not so much Part 1, but Part 2, where you are on this mission with your squad, this mission to the capital and to kill the president and all that. So you just go on that mission. You got to avoid the booby traps, or as they call it, the pods. That's the single player, and then you've got the online multiplayer where you are in
the Hunger Games and you fight other people.
Yeah, it becomes this battle royale. Well, that's kind of a plug to the original Japanese film.
But we agree that sounded like it sounds like it would be a really great game.
Because an online multiplayer of the Hunger Games in that arena would be so good.
Yeah, and there's not very many places to hide as well.
Yeah.
So that makes it usually online multiplayer games you get a huge open world kind of environment. But this would be a much smaller environment, so you don't really have many places to hide. Yeah. You are at the mercy of other players.
To all my gamers out there who know this game H1Z1 or H1Z1, where you have these huge battle royales and these huge open worlds, and you can go for long periods of time without even seeing another player. But if you condense that world into a smaller world, it will make it much more volatile. Because I can't play H1Z1; it's just too long. The battle royales can go up to an hour because you're just roaming around. You're trying to survive, and the world is so big that a lot of the time you don't even see. So
condense the world and make the gaming more
make it more volatile.
I agree. They should do a Hunger Games video game, but I don't think. Now, I was going to say, I don't think they should attach the name Hunger Games to it. I think it should be like an original idea. But, I don't know. Maybe an actual official Hunger Games video game might be an interesting idea.
Yeah, because, if they don't attach the name, it will just be a blatant rip-off.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got... So are those all your recommended games?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
what are your recommended games?
I've got two.
Uh-huh.
One is, I didn't choose Part 1, Mockingjay Part 1. I chose Catching Fire. Okay. Because, for me, like I said, that's the best Hunger Games movie. And I think if you want to get the most out of the Hunger Games franchise, you see Catching Fire. Because it's not about the Hunger Games. It's not about the violence. It's not about the rebellion. It's about the characters. It's about the plot. It's about the grip that the capital has over the districts. It's about the grip of President Snow. And you can literally feel his grip tightening on all the districts. You can feel his grip tightening on Katniss. He's literally strangling her, and she's just struggling to stay alive. And that's what I loved about Catching Fire. That it was all that stuff.
Yeah.
My second movie is another dystopian movie.
Are you giving hints so that I can guess?
Would you like to guess what my second movie is?
Have I seen it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it.
Right.
It's a dystopian movie.
Okay,
it came out in
1985.
And it also deals with a very tyrannical kind of dictatorial government.
Blade Runner.
No.
Okay.
But good guess. But Blade Runner is not really about a tyrannical kind of.
Yeah, because I actually haven't seen Blade Runner. I know.
This movie is about a tyrannical government. And it's about kind of like a rebellion. So it follows this character who is, in a way, striving to change his personal life, but at the same time rebelling against this tyrannical dystopian government that hides a lot of secrets, that shortchanges its citizens. Anything coming to mind? Like I said, I don't know.
Sounds like Total Recall.
It's not Total Recall. Like I said, I don't know if you've seen this movie, so I can't.
1985.
Would you know it if I gave you the director's name?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's directed by Terry Gilliam.
Ooh. Oh, I feel like I know it.
I'm gonna say what the movie is. Brazil.
Okay.
Have you seen
fair
it?
enough. No, I have not.
You have not
it
seen.
Yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brazil is my second choice, for all the reasons I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dystopian movie. It's about rebellion. It's about it's not implicitly about rebellion, because the main character kind of goes through this personal journey, and kind of it's set against the backdrop of this tyrannical government that's very satirical. It's a very heavily satirical movie about governments today.
Okay.
Which I think the Hunger Games movies are. The Hunger Games has always commented on civilization today and how we run our lives with reality TV and enjoying barbaric behavior and these, I'm using the word tyrannical a lot, but these tyrannical governments. And Brazil was very much like that. And Brazil, I think, still holds up today because there are still governments like the government in Brazil.
All right, fair enough.
And that's my second choice. Brazil is my second recommended viewing. Okay. So
I might have to take you up on that because I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's a quirky movie. There's a wonderful role played by Robert De Niro.
Okay.
It's a very quirky movie. Yeah, and I just think it rang true with me while watching Mockingjay Part 2. Oh, and I just before we end this, I just want to say point out this little fact about Mockingjay Part 2. On May 9th of 2014, I believe, filming for Mockingjay Part 2 took place in Noisy-le-Grand, literally spelled noisy, Le Grand, in Paris. So I'm guessing it's Noisy-le-Grand in Paris, where Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson was seen on set. And this Noisy-le-Grand was the exact same location where Brazil was filmed 30 years earlier. And I did not know this before I chose Brazil as my recommended viewing. So I chose Brazil as my recommended viewing, and then I did my research into the film, and I was like, holy shit! Of all the movies in the history of the world, they filmed Mockingjay Part 2 in one of the exact same locations as Brazil 30 years ago. I was like, oh my god, it's meant to be.
That was a good choice as a recommended viewing. Holy shit.
So I just thought I
done.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else to say about Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 before we wrap this up? Before we wrap up this episode,
I'm done.
I hope you guys have learned something about Mockingjay Part 2. If you've seen it, you know what? Let us know what you thought about it, and where can they find you and let you know about this movie.
You can follow me on Twitter at DialogueSC. You know, I honestly rarely tweet, but just follow me anyway, because I just tweet sometimes just random thoughts, and yeah.
I tweet more often than you, and no one follows me, so follow me, people. And that's the only place I can find you.
Yeah.
If you want to let me know what your thoughts on Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 are, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Critical Reel. Go like my Facebook page, or you can tweet me on Twitter at The Critical Reel. You can also find me at thecriticalreel.com. You can find me on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review my channel. Thank you very much.
And on Hooked on Film.
And on Hooked on Film, you can go read my reviews and read the reviews of all our wonderful contributors on their website. Go read reviews. Because, we do podcasts and life is great when you're listening to stuff, but don't ever stop reading. So go read reviews on Hooked on Film.
Yep.
So let us know what you thought about this movie. Next week is a great film week.
Oh, yes.
We haven't really decided what my great film is going to be next week. I'm kind of leaning towards Dear Frankie.
I don't think a lot of people would have heard of that film.
Well, all the better. If you haven't heard of Dear Frankie, that's
I'm
good.
Just saying.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of the movie Dear Frankie, that's good. You can tune in next week if we do decide. I will post my thoughts on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll let you guys know if I do decide to go with Dear Frankie or if I've gone with a different movie. I'm gonna have to watch Dear Frankie again, make up my mind. But yeah, next week is a great film episode, and my prime candidate right now is Dear Frankie.
Yeah. And it's a great film episode because it's the last episode of the month.
That is true.
Yes.
So, that does it for this week's episode of The Critical Reel. Once again, my name is Zachary Cruz-Tan.
And I am Zach's brother, Jay.
Please watch movies till the day you die. Yes. I did not mess up this time. Until next week. Guys, have a good week and enjoy your movies.
Goodbye.